You know what the scariest give yourself goosebumps concept would be? Hear me out, y'all. This would be the most terrifying give yourself goosebumps content that you would ever be able to lay your eyes upon and read. And that would be Attack of the Bill Collector. Hear me out, y'all. That's my daily life. Attack of the Bill Collector, that is my daily life, y'all. I gotta move through alleyways. I gotta get groceries at midnight. I can't even go for late night pizza runs anymore because my bill collector pulls up with the empty Domino's box and he got the whole bill stacked up in there. I'm sitting there like, bro, first of all, I'm not gonna give you a tip. You are not my delivery driver. Second of all, you ain't even include the garlic sauce. And since you didn't include the garlic sauce, I'm not paying you, bro. That comes with the meal at all times. And third of all, I ordered thin crust. Them bills is at least 3 inches thick. And last time I checked, thin crust is supposed to be like half a centimeter. I'm not going to do it, bro. I got to get Lawrence Genevieve as my bill collector because that is Ezekiel's bill collector. And for those who don't remember, Ezekiel is the one that is always selling me bootleg Goosebumps copies. He sold me a Goosebumps book called Revenge of the Pizza Boy. And I'm sitting there like, is this an unreleased Spine Tinglers book? Like, this is what you do. And he claimed that was Series 2000. You expect me to believe that something called Revenge of the Pizza Boy is an unreleased Series 2000 book? Now, granted, I ended up paying $40 for it. I still need to get back on that payment because, honestly, the book was... All right, I'm just gonna be honest. The book was the Captain Underpants book. He just put the cover over it, made it look nice. I guess he hired some fake Tim Jacobus wannabe to make the cover. I don't know how he does this, but he robbed me of $40 and I gotta get that money back. But either way, aside from that being the scariest GYG book, in general, I think Give Yourself Goosebumps is the most underrated Goosebumps series throughout the entire franchise. Now you might be wondering, whoa, BD. There's OG62, there's Series 2000. There are series in their Hall of Horrors that are arguably better series overall, have more consistency, and they're much more, in terms of content, better and has some underlooked books. Sure, fine, that's great, but those ones get recognition, especially Series 2000 and OG62. Those ones are always getting recognized, always getting talked about. Even Hall of Horrors, considering the fact that it's only like 6 books and it's very condensed, yeah, you're going to get more consistency, but it's also going to make it easier to talk about. And let's say if you do miss a book from Hall of Horrors, it's only 6 books. So really, you only got limited stuff to talk about, not including any special editions or things that may have came out. But Give Yourself Goosebumps has a lot, and I mean a lot, of Goosebumps books. I can't keep track. I don't know off the top of my head how many Goosebumps books it is. I would assume it's over 30. There is a lot of Give Yourself Goosebumps books that are out there. And the series does not get talked about a lot. Only rarely when you have, let's say, fellow Goosebumps YouTubers that I am friends with, when they're bringing up, their best villains or books that they recommend me to read that, they know that I've read all the main iconic ones now and I don't have much left. They recommend me some GYGs. That's when it gets brought up into conversation. But oftentimes amongst the community, GYGs don't get brought up, aside from the fact that you want to collect them because they're so rare. You don't actually hear them talk about the stories. And from what I've read of Give Yourself Goosebumps, and from what I've heard from the rest of the community, I think that this is definitely the most underrated Goosebumps series. And considering that this was a topic that I thought about back in the day, the fact that I'm a Goosebumps reviewer now, and I actually am a part of the community and I'm active within it, makes me more compelled to talk about it. So, what inspired me to come up with this decision? Well, a few years ago, I started watching my very first Goosebumps YouTube channel. And the main reason I did this was because I was not into Goosebumps for a while, and then all of a sudden I kept up with it slightly, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to get back into Goosebumps, maybe I want to start reading it over again. As a kid, I only read a handful of books. I collected almost all of them just for the covers, but I was a big fan of the TV show. I used to watch all the episodes on the TV show, and that's what attracted me to it, as well as Haunting Hour and other series to come. So I decided to pick up Goosebumps again. I decided, all right, let me see if there's some YouTubers out there that I can watch, because for books that I don't want to, read yet, I want to see what people think about them. So I found a guy, a little channel you guys may know about, and his name is Michael Goosebumps Fan, the biggest Goosebumps YouTuber. That's the first channel I found. And I went back, I was doing my college work. This was in the middle of my college semester. So in between my homework, I would watch his videos, I would start with his oldest video and then go forward and just watch the reviews, play it in the background while I'm doing my work so I don't get bored. I get bored very easily and quiet, so if I'm just doing work that I don't care about, I like having that in the background. So I was watching it, and his very first couple reviews, as he was getting into Give Yourself Goosebumps for the first time, he was talking about how underrated it was to him and how much fun he was having reading Give Yourself Goosebumps. So that made me very excited because Give Yourself Goosebumps was actually the series as a kid that attracted me the most because of the covers, and I like the concepts to them. And on one of the Christmases that I had, I actually asked my mom to get me a bunch of Give Yourself Goosebumps book. And, we got Werewolf Woods, we got Wicked Wax Museum, and she gave me, what was it? Creepy Creations of Professor Shock and Trapped in Batwing Hall. Those were the 4 Give Yourself Goosebumps books that she gave me. I only read a little bit of them. I didn't read much at all. And I never touched them. But I love the covers. I love the concepts. And then as, Michael Goosebumps fan and other YouTubers I was watching was talking about it, I was like, all right, let me get into Give Yourself Goosebumps. And so far, from what I've read, it has everything that you could possibly want as a fan of Goosebumps in the most fun, basically, premise, because it's a choose your own adventure for those who are not familiar. Give Yourself Goosebumps to choose your own adventure. You are the main character. You are immersed within the story. And essentially, they each have their own different plots and gimmicks. And based off that gimmick, they have several different storylines that you can go down, which lead to different endings. Much like what would happen if you played a video game where you're choosing options to do certain stuff and it leads you to a specific ending. That's basically what you can do with these books. So I read Welcome to the Wicked Wax Museum, and that was a fantastic read because it had some of the darkest content in it. It had a goated villain, Sibel the Wicked. That lady is the most terrifying Goosebumps villain I have seen. She is goated. She's terrifying. For those who don't know, Sibel the Wicked is one of the main villains from Welcome to the Wicked Wax Museum, and she's on the main cover, but that is not what she actually looks like. It's not accurate at all to how she's described in the book. How she's described in the book is that essentially this professor's daughter ended up getting trapped in a fire, and the fire absolutely burned her. It burned all of her skin, it burned her face off, and even though she survived, she was horribly disfigured. So what she ends up doing at this wax museum is she kidnaps kids and victims and takes off their faces and skin. This lady is killing children and people to take their skin and faces, cut off pieces of it, and put it on her face. Her face is described as having one brown eye and one blue eye, but the blue eye is on a different colored patch of skin that is down here. So if my eye is up here, her eye would be down here, and it's on a different colored piece of skin. And she has pieces of her hair that are red and blonde and brown and black. So it's taken from different hairstyles. She's got a nose that doesn't belong to her. She has lips that are disfigured. She has parts of her cheeks that aren't right. And she looks horrifying. It's like a Goosebumps version of Leatherface. And it's like, what the, Leatherface, man. Goosebumps version of Leatherface is in this book, and that is terrifying. You also get a storyline in Wicked Wax Museum, which is you're getting trapped in a room full of all of the Universal monsters from the Universal Monster movies as wax figures that may or may not be alive, and you have to get out of there alive in order to escape them. That is such a cool thing that you get to experience in these books where they cross over to other verses and reference them. You even get Goosebumps books that are referenced in GYG, so you can also break the fourth wall and experience the meta. And on top of that, you get a cameo in this book as well. The Lord High Executioner appears as a wax statue that you recognize from a Goosebumps book, and it may or may not be alive. So yeah, you gotta watch your back in this book. I also read, I think, Under the Magician's Spell, which is a really fun one. It has fun characters in it. There's a part of the story where you have to play this game where you're playing cards and you're against these caricature figures like Mr. Lucky, Mr. Dealer, and all these different people. And yeah, you basically have to get into a card game against those guys, and your decision does matter. You get put on a wheel where this performing artist is throw knives at you. You get this part of the story where the magician in this mall, I guess, fake magic shop, has these decapitated heads in the shrine, and he's about to take your heads. He's a master magician. He's manipulating the world. You get stuck in these places where, like a fishbowl, you put your hand in the fishbowl, and all of a sudden the room fills up to the walls, and you're stuck in there with man-eating piranhas. It's a really fun, magical story. And then you get to my favorite GYG, Attack of the Beastly Babysitter. So far, my favorite. Where you get one of the best villains, a villain called Dare. And Dare is this guy who rules over the game section of the book, where you basically can choose to go to this amusement park, or you can choose to go to the game section. And the game section is where Dare is there. And he's this guy who's covered head to toe in tattoos. Tattoos of dragons, snakes, tarantulas, fire, everything tatted head to toe completely. Full body suit of tattoos. And he basically puts you in a world where he manipulates reality. You get thrown into the middle of a desert where he creates this black hole sand vortex that's about to suck you in and destroy you. He can create wormholes. He can form dragons and snakes and monsters from his body off of the tattoos coming off his body and coming to real life. So you could take a tattoo of a tarantula, throw it out, and it'll become a real tarantula. He can put you in a castle with a dragon. He can make you fight against monsters and ogres. He's super dope. All right, he's a cool guy. And then you get to the amusement park section of the book, which it goes from this fun game adventure section to this horrifying body horror section, especially if you hate rats. You get to deal with rat-human hybrids. You get to deal with this chamber of dead rats making up the entire walls, and they're all mummified rats that fall on you. There's this disgusting scene of a mummified rat falling in your mouth, and you taste all the decades of decay and disgustingness. Ugh. It's gross, man. That's probably my nastiest moment in Goosebumps. That comes from GYG. So, short story. This is why you need to read GYG. GYG, you can get great aspects of adventure. You can get terrifying body horror. You can get actually scary moments. There are books in this series that I've not read that people say are pretty scary. Creeping Coffin, One Night at Pain House, which people say is terrifying. You have characters that are known in Goosebumps that appear in GYG that, they would never ever appear in any normal Goosebumps book. The guy with the briefcase in the Goosebumps TV show, you know that in the beginning of the theme song, there's the guy that holds the briefcase and the papers fall out that have Goosebumps scripts on it. That guy is in the Werewolf of Twisted Tree Lodge. He appears as that. He appears in that as a main villain. You have Slappy appearing. You have Monster Blood appearing in the books. You have the Beast from the East that appears in one of the books, where you're in a dark cave and you have to answer questions about that book. And if you get it wrong, let's just say you might end up in a bad encounter with that guy. So yeah, that's part of the books. And yeah, you get to venture into all these fun different worlds. I heard that in Creations of Professor Shock or whatever, you get to enter this weird Wizard of Oz world. Like, you get to enter this different dimension where there are flying sharks and there are crocodile lions, like lion crocodile hybrids at carnivals. If you run forward, you run backwards. The grass is purple, the trees are, red, or yellow or some weird color. Like, that is the type of worlds that you can get into within GYGs. And the main thing I would say is that even if you happen to find a GYG that is not that good, like a few that I have found, you still have aspects to it that are super fun. The Deadly Experiments of Dr. Eek, that was a very mid book. I gave it 6 out of 10, but it still had aspects of it that I liked. I enjoyed the virtual reality section where you have to escape, giant krakens and Komodo dragons because your life feels like you're at risk. And the worst GYG book that I read so far was Night of a Thousand Claws, and that one still had some creative stuff that stuck out to me. You have these robotic saber-toothed tigers and lions that chase after you. You're trapped in this dark basement with a black panther, a thing that you cannot see. You get cat hybrid people that chase after you. You get cult rituals. You get cult rituals with cats. Yeah, well, you get witch ladies doing cult rituals with cats. That's the kind of stuff you can get even in the worst GYG books. And if you compare that to OG62 and other series, You have Revenge R Us in Series 2000. That hot doo-doo garbage, that steaming pile of rhino shit, that is what you get as some of the worst in the original Goosebumps books. You get OG62. You get the barking dog shit. You get Go Eat Worms. Go Eat Worms, y'all. That's the worst of those series. Now, that's not hating on the series, because they still come out with bangers like Haunted Mask, Welcome to Dead House, Werewolf Skin, Are You Terrified Yet, Brain Juice, other books that a lot of people love. But some of the worst in there is stuff that is super forgettable, super painful to read through, and you have absolutely no enjoyment in it. GYG, there are some books that are absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of ones that are kind of middling, either good, decent, or meh. But the worst books that are still considered to be like bad by people, they still have aspects of fun adventure, creativity, and at least unique things that stick in your mind as, all right, that was kind of cool. If they showed more of that, the book would have been better. That is not something you often see within other Goosebumps series books. If you take the worst of Slappy World, if you take the worst of Hall of Horrors, maybe the worst of Most Wanted, the worst of Horrorland, the most of everything, that is not something you can get. You can only get that within GYG, where you will find parts of the book that you like, you wish there was more to it, but because it wasn't more, that's why it lowers your scale. That is a very unique thing to this series, and that's why I have to say it's the most underrated. And there's lots of things that I cannot talk about yet because I haven't read them. I know Scary Birthday to You has fantastic villains like Dr. Macbeth with Goosebumps Completionist always talks about. You have other books in there that are beloved that I haven't read yet. But once I do get to read them, this concept that I have with you guys is only going to increase. So, bottom line, was Michael Goosebumps fan right? Was he correct that GYG is probably the most underrated series that a lot of you guys who have read it will get the chance to read? Yeah, it is. People won't talk about it. People won't mention it. It'll often get ignored within the main media that represents Goosebumps in terms of other mainstream popular books. But guess what? It has some of the most fun, best content you will ever read. You'll get adventure, body horror, you will get actual scary, creepy moments, you will get fun, fourth wall breaking, and on top of that, you get to choose everything you want to do. You can choose how much you want to experience. You can choose to go through every ending. You can choose to go through only certain endings. It's all within your control. And you're the main character. You become the main focus of the book. And that's how you're able to completely immerse yourself. Because it's not the main character making decisions and you have to go along with the ride. No, it's you making the decisions and you get to be the main character and lead the story. That is a super cool premise. And if you want some of the best villains in the entire series, you read Give Yourself Goosebumps and you're going to get them. Sabelle the Wicked, Dare, Dr. Macbeth. You're going to get a lot of fun villains that you wish would be shown in the main Goosebumps media and would wish they got talked about more, but sadly they don't. But hopefully this video brings some attention to that. And with that, I wrap up this discussion video. If you guys enjoyed, first things first, hit that subscribe button. I hit 50 subscribers like a week ago, and now I went back down to 49. So whoever unsubscribed, fuck you. But by the way, still love you, but fuck you. Everybody who liked this video and liked my other content, please subscribe. And also please feel free to hit that like button. Those are both free ways to support me and lets me know you guys are engaged with the content. It lets me know what you guys want to see. And over that way, we can build up a community. And also comment down below your own thoughts and opinions. Do you agree with me that GYG is the most underrated Goosebumps series? Do you think that there are other series out there that get overlooked? Let me know down below. And also, what's your favorite GYGs? What are your least favorite GYGs? And tell me why. So that way I can also decide which ones I should probably read soon and which ones that I should look out in the future to talk about. That's all I have for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, deuces. Now you get to play your own GYG, which is called Escape from BD Horror. Now, in reality, there is no escape. You're going to be forced to click the A option and go down to my YouTube channel, hit every video, subscribe to the channel, and like every video. That's the only option. And the other option you get is I'm going to unleash my bill collector upon you. And remember, that guy never forgets. So remember that extra long shower you took? Yeah, you're going to be paying for that shit. At least that way I can get away with taking out some of the light bill.